Scarlett. So soon, we go again.
Mate, we've got all organised. It feels nice being organised. The listeners don't know this, but we're a week ahead of ourselves for the first time in months.
Spoke to you Tuesday.
Yeah.
And now the episode literally just came out this morning, the Q&A section. Here we are again, a couple of later. I feel like this is my Christopher Nolan moment where I'm not quite sure where we are in the timeline because it's all getting a little bit fucking chaotic.
Yeah, no, well, see, I feel super relaxed and on it because I'm out of the chaos. So it's good. You've had a bit of a bad day today, it sounded like, or a stressful day?
It's stressful. So, so this is how my life is at the minute. First off, my wife, her salon, the sort of senior stylist, has snapped her Achilles. So she's out of action for the next 8 weeks. So my wife, who works 2.5 days in her own salon, is now working 6 and 12-hour shifts to try and take a clientele from her. So she's coming home at night, utterly exhausted, almost in tears, and I'm proper daddy daycare for the 3 children and all the commitments to them. Slap bang right into the run of Damnation's now hitting the point where everything needs looked at. So like last night I'm sitting at midnight working with Bri on Damnation merch, and then in an amazing piece of 2 promoters 1 pod merch, which should be out by now, the Tintin stuff.
That's amazing.
And then I'm getting up this morning, taking my youngest to school, grabbing some breakfast, getting back in time to plug the pod, and then by the time I log into my email for the first time at 10 a.m, it's on fire. It's just like 47 emails of production requests, merch ideas, what's happening with hotel rooms, 17 different bands asking different questions. So you're like, shit, let's try and get on top of that. I've got Paul's phoning. Have you seen that email from X Band saying about that? As he's phoning Marios, my production manager, is trying to get through. So I'm like, Paul, I'll speak to you in a second. I'm going to speak to Marios. Then Marios is on the phone, but I'm sitting there looking at it saying, I can only talk for, so we're on the phone for 40 minutes, say. I say, look, I need to get off this call because Schedule, I've got a meeting at 11:30 with Schedule to talk about resale tickets. So I'm coming off the phone, I'm jumping onto Schedule and then thinking, right, Sinead, I don't know how long because I need to jump on and do the podcast. So in the mix of all this, I need to announce fucking A Swan with the Sun today as well. So I'm a bit like, right guys, I'll get to it. So this morning has been utter chaos. And then in the middle of it, this is how my life's going at the minute. A fucking Damnation skateboard shows up.
No way.
So the guys at Pins and Knuckles have made Damnation skateboards and sent me one without me knowing. And they're like, right, we're going to see if the fan base is up for this. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, I genuinely do have a Damnation skateboard in my hands.
That is incredible. If you like skateboards, that is.
If you like skateboards, so I don't know where that's come for that idea, but they're obviously something that they're starting to work on. If I take it for bands in that scene, and let's send Gav one. So I appreciate that. But this is, if you normally feel like I'm quite hyperactive, then I'm fucking rabbiting away. This is the episode that you're going to get it at fucking both barrels because I'm running in coffee at the moment.
Well, I just saw someone post on our the 2 Promoters 1 group Facebook saying they want us to have a section at the start of each podcast called Gav Booting Off. And it's basically you getting angry, fucking having a rant about a film you've seen or some Karens you didn't like.
Or agents.
So, yeah.
Or agents. That's another thing because we've obviously announced a bunch of bands this week. So I said, by the time you're getting this, everyone will have been announced, including this one with the Sun, and then by tomorrow should be the Ocean doing Plagio, which should be the end, the bow that wraps up. Ironically, the only thing that will stop that being announced tomorrow is if I drive to the booking agent's house and fight him in his garden, which would be hilarious because he's our booking agent. He's the guy that we've literally taken on board, Hayden Britman, to be the booking agent for the podcast. Is the guy who's the only guy that's going to get in the way of this fucking thing getting announced now. So for everything that makes Hayden almost impossible to deal with is the reason that we want him on our side.
Yeah, has he been causing you headaches?
Well, just the way he always does. Just the reason it makes him a good booking agent, just things that he makes up in his head about everything, and then you need to deal with the fallout fit. So, and he's a sneaky wee Russian. He gets parts. We're going to do this whole podcast about after the booking, i.e., what process happens between confirming a booking and then them playing on stage. All the hurdles you need to achieve. Hayden's a master at creating me hurdles you don't even see, and the next thing you know, you're £500 less in your budget because you've had to buy lights or something you never knew about in the deal. So, aye, he's as I say, is as much as we're sticking about him, he clearly is the guy. Let's just talk about him for. He's clearly is the guy that's going to be suitable for us.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the team, Hayden. I mean, what I forgot to mention to you is that it involves a fair level of hazing in the early days to get you into the team. So we can talk about you without any right of reply. I had this thing with Hayden this week where we had two long phone calls to chat about ATG next year, and there was a band that we were talking about, and I was like, look, we talked about a lot of stuff. Some of them I'm going to make offers on now. Some I'll think about. Some whatever. So this band I'm going to offer for you this week. And he goes to me, don't you be listening to Gav on the cost of that band? And I'm like, mate, I listened to Gav last year. I've already offered you last year on this band, and you increased that by another couple of grand. So we have agreed a fee. It didn't happen last year. It did, for some reason. Yeah, they weren't on tour. So I was saying to him, mate, we've already done the bloody negotiation. Don't be telling me don't listen to Gav. We've got a price. No, there's no other prices being discussed. This is the price. So yeah, he's
It was a price. It might even be talking about the same band because it's never happened for Damnation, but it was a price that was agreed on a deal that fell through, and he came back the following year saying, like, things have changed. I'm like, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed at all. There's no album being released. There's no big ticket sales out in the future. Just like, all this changed is 12 months more, and you're a bit like, oh, Gav agreed to that fee. I wonder if I can get him up a grand or two.
Well, and your fee is I am above now. So bloody hell. So yeah, I think we probably. There needs to be some discussion here where Hayden gives us cheaper fees. Now he's our agent, right?
I've never in a million years, some way we'll be paying more. So some random reason we're going to be paying more. I said to my wife, I said, oh, we're taking Hayden on, and she misunderstood the whole thing. Like Hayden would be the promoter for the shows. So she's about like, oh, well, at least at this point, it's Hayden's a risk. He's taking the risk, so you just get a fee, and if the tour doesn't sell well, he takes the risk. Like, no, you've completely misunderstood. Hayden's taking no risk. He'll just take a percentage. He's always winning. He's always winning. So
the agents always win. So look, the tour is now in sort of the workings have begun. Now we've talked about it for long enough. We've had a couple of emails back and forwards. We're gonna have a chat with Hayden next week. It's happening March, April, May-ish. There's going to be some dates around the country. Any promoters listening to this that want to get involved, you go and speak to Hayden. And yeah, we're coming. We started talking about what the show will look like, and if anyone's got any ideas for what we should do, then we'd love to hear them. But we
can firm that up over the coming months and what people will do, and especially if ticket buyers have ideas of what they want, we can do it. I mean, it'll be the crux of what we're doing here, but maybe a guest each city. Maybe a wee bit more fan interaction. I will do it. Thank you also to everyone who reached out. But come to my brewery. Our cafe's available. We could do this. One person got in touch and said it'd be a great idea to do it through Independent Venue Week, which might also tie in quite nicely if I think that's run a bit much. So yes, keep the ideas coming in. Whatever deal that you might have got directly through me and James, that is now off the table. You're now dealing with Hayden, who just, if you don't quite understand the level he's operating at, his bands are Cult of Luna, Envy, Lepros, Enslaved, Bosk, LLNN, and the wonderful Julie Christmas. So we're in the same roster as Julie Christmas. With Dream achieved, mate. Dream achieved.
Yes, me and Johannes.
Oh, the curse of fucking Johannes, of course. So aye, and also thank you to the booking agents who reached out and were willing to take this project on, because listen, it's been a fairly successful podcast so far, but that's not to say that anybody's going to bother their arse buying a ticket to come and see us live.
No, so absolutely.
We know that it's still, you're taking on it, and it's a completely different market. So we appreciate Hayden. Hayden was under the impression or that it was going to no one else. You know what I mean? And for all we will have a laugh at his expense, he is the guy for us. I mean, the reason his name's been mentioned so much is because we deal with him continuously over all our festivals. So, welcome to the team, Hayden.
Yeah, he's the only agent that deals with both of us a lot, isn't he? There's a bunch out there that deal just with you or just with me or just on trees or whatever. But Hayden works across all three festivals. So Yeah, he's the man. So look, on the subject of agents, do you remember last week I was saying that I've got 105 agents on the list and it's really stressing me out that they won't stop ringing. So the podcast went out this morning, me saying that. And I had an email from an agent who I won't name saying, "Hi, James. Hope I'm in the 110. Would love to know the list. Ha ha. When do you have some time to chat about the below?" So he's not listening to me. He's basically just going, "Come on, tell me when you're free." And then literally, as I sat down, I'm going to see if I can find the message. As I sat down with you today, I had a WhatsApp from an agent saying, "Just sat watching the pod with a cup of tea and a Yorkie. You got any time for a chat this afternoon?"
So people are just now terrorising you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get on very well with both his agents, so we will be chatting soon when my brain doesn't explode. I've got some news.
Calm me down. Let me hear you for a second, James. Tell me
in the last 3 days, or the last 2 days since I last spoke to you, I have confirmed not one but two 2000 Trees headliners. And I am very excited about it. So I'm going to give you a clue without telling you who it is. One of them was the first offer I made this year.
Okay.
So they're on the list. The list.
Yeah, I would say I know the two names, but I would say they're top five, eh?
Top five. Yeah,
I mean,
top five.
You've smashed it. I mean, it feels like your third one can now just be whatever comes along.
Because me and you.
Me and you on stage. So well done, congratulations.
Thanks, mate. And the second one is a wild card a little bit. I think people are going to be surprised. It's going to be great. And yeah, there's loads more to come. I don't think you're going to know about them for another 6 weeks or so. Probably the end of October. There'll be plans at the moment are Arctangent announcement end of September, 2000 Trees announcement end of October, I think is the likelihood. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. And there's one other quick thing which I thought was funny that I should tell you, is that there is a band that I made an offer for 2000 Trees. And as I was chatting to the agent, he said to me, no, I said to him that they would actually work at Arctangent equally as well. This is a big band, right? I mean, a really big band, like top two on the main stage, if not headliner sort of band. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, I don't want to compete with myself. So here's a 2000 Trees offer. And he's replied saying, yeah, what we really need to know is whether or not we can get a bit more money at Arctangent so we can then compare the offers. And I'm like, what the fuck? So basically, if you really think about that, that means one of my festivals is getting strung along and never going. You know, you're always being strung along by various agents. This will never really happen. If I offer this band, let's say, a second from top slot at Trees and a headline slot at ATG, I am just stringing myself along.
You're waiting to see which part of your festival would get a knockback.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. So that is the first time that's ever happened to me. So I think that's, in terms of the dark arts of booking, that's a new one.
Oh man, that is a new one. That's a strange place to be. And then also you've got that knock-on effect that you have got different teams as well. So they're like, well, whose side are you pitching for here, James? You're like, I'm not even trying to do this. This is an agent driven conversation. So that is funny as it is. That is a pretty awkward spot.
Yeah. You get extra points for anyone that can guess who the band is, because I've just given you some clues there, but there aren't many bands that could be. Okay, good. Right. There's one thing that I know you don't want to talk about, Gav, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, which is the new song by Mastodon and Lamb of God.
I love how busy I was this morning, and then for everybody in the world who can't get in touch with you, I'm getting sent a link to Spotify for a fucking Mastodon and Lamb of God song, and I'm a bit like, oh, there's new Mastodon, don't care. There's new Lamb of God, don't care. You're like, here's both of them together, overcome with a wave of indifference.
Like, well, wait till you listen to the fucking song.
I have listened to it. You start, mate. I'll chime in.
Okay, look, Mastodon are one of my favourite bands. I feel very meh about them being associated with Lamb of God in any way. I respect Lamb of God, not interested in their music, don't listen to them. I think they're totally different bands from different parts of the metal scene, and putting them together feels very weird. It might not feel weird in America. I don't know what the American scene is like, but those two bands, Mastodon are super creative and interesting, and Lamb of God is meat and potatoes. I know there's some Damnation fans out there probably going to kill me now, but That's how I feel about it.
It's your turn. It's your turn to get a kicking.
Yeah. And look, frankly, this song sounds like they've gone, what's the only middle ground between Mastodon and Lamb of God? Well, it's probably like Blood and Thunder style Mastodon. So why don't we just rewrite Blood and Thunder and then get Lamb of God to play on it and sing on it? And that is what they've done. And it's fucking so average and boring. I cannot possibly begin to tell you. Don't listen to it. I hope they don't bring that tour to the UK because I love Mastodon. I just want to go and see Mastodon be the crazy, proggy, weird nerds that they are. So yeah, I think I knew I was never going to like this, but it's so meh. It's so just like, ugh.
You were lined up for this point. I could sense it when you're saying, "Oh, this new track is coming out," as if I would be excited. But I did listen to it, and weird that you say that. My impression of it was exactly how I would expect it to sound. It sounded like Blood and Thunder and Laid to Rest getting played at the same time, without any of the big catchy bits of either tune. And aye, it's a bit like before you press play, I almost feel like I know exactly how this is going to sound, and that's exactly how it did sound. It was absolutely bang average, and a wee bit needless.
Totally
I'm
needless.
not quite sure. What is this? Is this something? I mean, sort of co-headlining? Are they going to come out together and play this track, or what's the thinking? But what's the market behind it?
I think you can imagine someone sat in an office somewhere, stroking a fucking cat in a massive chair, in a massive gold-plated chair, being like, "I've got an idea. Let's get someone get Mastodon, and they're doing this tour. Get them on the phone. We don't care what they think. They should do this." It just doesn't feel like a creative thing that the artists have come up with. It feels like their management or big hotshot booking agents come up with.
Aye, it was certainly like but that said, the meat and potato side of Lamb God, that Ashes of the Wake, is a banger of an album, and Blood and Thunder with Ivan is a banger of a master album, and definitely the Mastodon that I was into at the time. I would go and see that tour, and probably it's weird because I was at Hellfest maybe 5-6 years ago, and Hellfest got away after like, I don't know, fucking 11 days of music that some of your favourite bands you hate. I mean, I went to see Napalm Death, and like, who could listen to music like this? I mean, I fucking love Napalm Death. I'm like, who could listen to music like this? I felt like a granny listening to it. It's just noise. You're so numb to it. And Emperor were playing one of the days, and we were seeing Emperor instead of Lamb of God, which would always be the choice we would make. But I was just so sick of metal music. I just wanted to hear bangers. I just wanted to hear big fucking riffs. And we went across and watched. It was the best decision we ever made because that's exactly what we got. Big riffs, and then playing. Now you've got something to die for and Laid to Rest and Redneck, and it was great. And I think if I went to see Lamb of God and Mastodon on that tour, and I was in the right frame of mind, a few drinks, I could enjoy that again. But that's not a song that I was. It's not a song I was enthusiastic for, and you sending me it makes sure I'd listen. I was about like, okay, James.
About 7 a.m. I sent it as well. So you chose Emperor over Lamb of God. Did you just sneak that one in? Is that what you just said?
I chose Emperor.
Sorry, Lamb of God over Emperor.
Yes. Well, not initially. This is my St. Anger and Black album moment. I did finally see some Emperor, but it just sometimes it's just too much. You have to accept it. It's like one of these when you get all there that's just all thrash, all black, all doom. You're just like, it's too much. I need a sing-along chorus and a big daft riff. I mean, it's just
I do get that feeling. When I'm a download, that's how I want to end the night, with a big fucking
sing-along chorus.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we done with Mastodon, Lamb of God?
We're done. Talk us through how's our Ko-fi and Super Sub, etc. going?
It seems to be going well. I think there's been another, I think we're at 44, 45 subscribers. Again, I was talking to Brian about this last night. It's really picking up a wee bit of steam. It's hugely appreciated. I did have an honest conversation with Brian last night about does he actually like Lego, or did I just make that whole thing up in my head? And it turns out he doesn't buy Lego, so I don't know where that came from. I thought he told me one time that he wanted a Star Wars Lego ship.
He still went to the Lego store and you told him to go.
He said, "I'm just going to lean in." I said, "Well, to be fair, this is a podcast that when this Tintin t-shirt comes out, this is a podcast that definitely leans in to the joke." So I think he was just going to go and buy himself some Lego because that's what was expected. So massively appreciated. Anyone else who wants to subscribe, that Ko-fi is the place to go. The links are on YouTube and everywhere, so you can do that. Russell Bills who is the gent who updates our Apple playlist. So firstly, thanks for that. He was picked last time. He got in touch and said he'll forgo his 2000 Trees backstage tour because what he really needs is some of the blackening on the record. So talking about guys who just lean into the fucking joke, the big man has picked Halo for on the record. So we'll get to that later when we're talking about our choices. Halo will also be added.
If we can get to the point where all like 8 or 9 songs from the blackening are on the records, then we've completed the game then.
Completed, we're ashamed ourselves and our families.
Okay. Let's have some questions then. So Martin Bowler says, what's the best cover you have experienced live and what made it so special? The what's the best cover ever question is a decent one in its own right, but I thought adding the live element might make it more relevant for the pod.
Yeah. Okay. T in the Park, Audio Slave doing Bulls on Parade. I thought I had completely missed the opportunity to see Rage Against the Machine. I was a big Rage Against the Machine fan. Obviously, I've seen them several times since the whole reunions. But at that time, I didn't think I was going to ever hear any Rage Against the Machine. And when they kicked in at that opening riff of Bulls on Parade, I was reviewing T in the Park at the time. And I went into the mosh pit and I came out and I had lost everything. And I know that sounds like a bit of a running theme, but I think that's the only 2 times it's ever happened to me. Sure. I had nothing. I lost my wallet. I lost my notepad that I was reviewing it. I had a bag that had like food and drink in it. I lost my friends. And I obviously had no phone. My phone must have been in the bag. So I spent the rest of the day kind of wandering around aimlessly. And they played like an early afternoon slot. And I found familiar faces, like the headline, like Sabian were playing. And I've never been so happy to see people. Felt like that time in the fucking Spanish consulate. So I was like, that is definitely, because I lost my mind. I wasn't even thinking. So I was like, oh my fucking God, you're going to have the guys from Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell doing Bulls on Parade. And that definitely stands out as my favourite cover I've ever heard live.
Yeah, great choice. Great choice. I'm trying to remember when I saw Audio Slave. I think it was at Hammersmith in London, and they did do a few Rage songs. I can't recall if it was Bulls on Parade, but yeah, good choice. Mine is I'm going to lose some of my cool points for this, but I'm going to choose "Feeling Good" by Muse, because I don't fucking care. I think it's a brilliant cover. It's actually, I did a bit of research, and it was originally written for a musical in the 60s. So the famous version of it is by Nina Simone, but it isn't actually her song. It was in a musical. I've seen them play this a bunch of times, but the first time I think was at the O2 in London a long time ago. I tried to Google it, but they've played the O2 Arena so many times over the years.
I've heard that. I mean, I probably would have seen them doing it, but wouldn't it be something that would stick out to me to be like, oh my God, there's a banger.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a Muse apologist because I think that they're one of the true creative mad geniuses in our world. Now, that isn't to say they haven't done shit albums, because they have, and they've lost it the last two or three. But some of the albums that people slag off, I think, are fucking great. Mad fucking Freddie Mercury lunatics. So I really like Muse.
The best track that Muse have ever recorded is Dark Star, isn't it?
Oh,
the one.
Oh, fuck.
The one that was never actually, I don't think it was ever on one. It was like a B-side or something. They certainly never play it live, and I always got to see it. It's got a huge drift that just kind of pummeling for the start. I think that's the best music track ever.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm so bad with song names. I don't even know what that is. I mean,
it is your favourite too.
I could talk about I could talk about Muse a lot, but let's not do it now. But we should do it at some point, because really they're great, although also shit at times, a lot of times.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Ron
that's my
Davis,
answer, sorry.
That is your answer. Ron Davis, live albums. Has anyone asked to make one at your festival? I'll rhyme off the phone, then we'll just talk through it rather than do it. Anyone asked to make one at your festival? Does it create headaches for the promoter? Does the band take a smaller fee for doing so? Would the promoter get any sort of fee off it? And do you even like albums? If so, which ones? And which sets have you seen that you wish were recorded made available? Good question, Ron. I think that shows a wee bit like when sometimes you're talking at length on these podcasts, you're like, the level of insight that a fan's just got, that you'd even have the misconception of if somebody records a live album, you would make some money off it. It's so bizarre. I mean, you think, but then why wouldn't you? It's quite an honest question, but it just shows you how sheltered, not sheltered. The lack of information that ever comes out this industry to anyone else, that a question like fuck, how could you think that? So to answer your question, the Onslaught recorded live at Leeds at Damnation 2008. So we do have a live album recorded at Damnation, which was very successful, and it's a great album. And
have you got the vinyl?
I don't have the vinyl. I've got the signed CD. I don't have the vinyl. I don't know sure if it was ever pressed in vinyl, because when 2008 vinyl wasn't quite.
No, it's the wrong time, wasn't it?
As back as it is now. I'm sure one day that will come out. Does it create headaches? It creates headaches for the band and the sound techs and the crew and everyone who wants to make sure they get it absolutely spot on. Now, is that a bigger headache than what they really want to sound like anyway? Because they want to have a good live show. You would need to ask somebody in that tech background of what's different. But I think it's really just recorded on the desk and then given to wherever they produce that. So I don't think there's any extra headache. Does the band take a small fee? Fees don't come into it one way or another. We get asked the question a lot about why don't we film sets and why don't you put them out? That's out with us, our control. That's all licensing stuff. That's all. I mean, the amount of hoops you need to jump through and copyright and who's got the rights to everything to then record a band and then stick it out. It's a bit like this. If they're doing it in their own terms. They wouldn't say, "Oh, by the way, we're going to come and record the live album at your set or your festival. So instead of 10 grand, we'll accept 5." They'll be like, "No, it's 10 grand, and then the rest of it's really just up to them." And let's go to that point, and then we can discuss if we like live albums at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'd be up for doing some live stuff, live albums at Arctangent. I just love the idea of having a vinyl from my own festival that has got a live set of like Russian Circles at Arctangent or whatever. I think it would be super cool. I have had conversations with Kev from Big Scary Monsters, and also does the Two Promoters One Pod merch, about doing that. And actually, one of them was about this year at Arctangent, and I put him in touch with somebody, and I don't even know if that got recorded or not. Now, let me know, Kev. Did that album get recorded at ATG 24? So maybe there's one coming. Who knows? But I think it would be really cool. I would really love. I don't know if you ever do this, but I've done a bunch of different jobs in the music industry, and I often think about what other jobs I'd like to do. And my ego would love to be involved with a record label, and just to be able to be, I don't think I want the time and stress and money pressures of it. But the idea of having like Arctangent recordings is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And so I do think about this sometimes, and part of me would really like to, like to release some vinyl with our name on it. But yeah, I don't know. And I think you've covered well enough the headaches: is money splits, recording equipment, etc. To be honest, I don't really listen to live albums. There's a couple that I do. I think I mentioned the other day when we talked about Metallica that S&M is right up in my top 5 Metallica albums. So I do put that on, and I think there's a couple of songs on that, like For Whom the Bell Tolls, where they've taken probably the best Metallica song, and I'm not going to say better, but another version of it, which is also fucking awesome. Nothing Else Matters as well is great. So S&M is good. The only other one I ever listened to is Iron Maiden's Live After Death, which is really good because it's just fucking greatest hits album from that time, which is basically got all their best songs on it. And you don't have to listen to the fucking absolute shit that was on their last album. So yeah, overall live albums are boring, I think, even if you were there. Like I saw the Sex Pistols in 1996 at Finsbury Park, and they released the live album of it, but I just can't get enthusiastic for actually owning that. I definitely can't get into. I'd like to own it, maybe. But listening to it, I think it's probably better to just have a good time jumping around like a lunatic and then move on.
Yeah, I'm not into the whole. I don't, and I didn't enjoy live streams during lockdown, even though it was the only thing that I don't enjoy. I always feel like, I loved that set, and it was recorded at Hellfest or Bloodstock, and I never went back. I've never went back and watched it. I get no feeling from it whatsoever. Even an amazing set that I had the time of my life at, watching it on a screen or a TV just does nothing for me at all. I'm not interested in it at all. And Live albums, I'm a bit the same. I think that I like the Nine Inch Nails one. I forget to name it. I think that's done really well and it comes across really well. And when those songs come on, maybe in shuffle or Spotify, they always sound good. I have never went out my way to pick up a live album or fish one out for anywhere. I don't know. It's just, I think live's live. That's it. You're there at the time, you experience it at the time, and try to recreate it in any shape or form, visually or audio. I'm like, okay, I'm not that fussed. So if bands want to do it, want to come to Damnation, I think some festivals get into once. It's one of the things that it becomes a reputation. Like Dunk and Roadburn are festivals where people are like, oh, let's record live at Dunk. Let's record. I mean, probably because I think both have got an association with labels as well. So maybe some of the red tape and some of the difficulties to make that happen aren't there. But a band wants to record something live, then have at it. But I'm not particularly excited about any sort of live format.
No, and I actually own a couple now I think about it of live albums from Roadburn where I was there the year before or 2 years before and I bought the live album. But I've listened to them once. I like owning vinyl, right? So I like the packaging. I love that Roadburn did it. But weirdly, actually listening to the live album is not the top of my list of things to do.
Aye, no, because I've not thought about it. I think that Departure Songs by We Lost the Sea is the best post rock record ever written, and they've done it live at Dunk. But I would never go and listen to that. I would always just listen to Departure Songs recorded in the studio. So I think that settles that debate. We are not into live records.
No, but I also would do it at Arctangent now. Okay, so next question. Max James asks, what are each of your favourite venues in the UK? Maybe pick a small venue and a large venue each. So it's historically for me, my favourite ever music venue is called the Lomax in Liverpool. It doesn't exist anymore. I actually went back to Liverpool and found the street. I was at university in Liverpool and I went back and found the street and it's just all boarded up and stuff. But it was an amazing little, I think about 300 capacity venue that when I was at uni, well, I started in 1997, I saw like Feeder there, I saw A there. I saw a bunch of that sort of Brit rock era bands that went on to be, I think I saw Terrorvision there. They went on to be massive fucking bands. And that venue is fucking incredible. Same thing as I then moved to London and the London Astoria was like sort of home from home. It was like, felt like every band that was about to break big did it. They started at the London Astoria. So I saw Biffy Clyro there in 2006. I stood outside the London Astoria with my mate Mark when Audio Slave played there because we couldn't get a ticket and we thought we'd be able to get one off Touts, but we couldn't get one. So we literally stood outside the back doors just listening to Audio Slave playing. So basically the Astoria was, I mean, it feels romantic now because it's been knocked down, but it was fucking great. And, you know, nowadays I'm based in Bristol and I don't think, I was thinking about this, so I don't think I've got a favourite venue, but I would shout out the Exchange, which is great, up to about 300 cap, then 400 the Fleece. And for a bigger place, Marble Factory is really, really cool. We've done me and Miles have done a bunch of shows there recently with, I don't know, like Bob Villan, Thrice, Kneecap. So yeah, Bristol's got fucking loads of cool venues. So I can't quite pick one. I'll just go for those three.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. Both the venues I'm going to pick are probably in that middle range. Are not the spot 300 capacity, and they're also no arenas. I feel that sort of 1,500 to 2,000 capacity is a sweet spot if you can get the right venue, because it's that whole still intimate enough to be close to the band, and it all feels very personal. But at the same time, the bands get the opportunity to have some sort of stage show, which isn't there in 200 cap rooms where they can barely get a banner in the wall behind them. So. Aye, the obvious answer, and anyone from Glasgow, and in fact a lot of people from across the world would say the Barrowlands. Have you ever been in the Barrowlands?
No.
I mean, the Barrowlands is it's what Chino and Marino or Corey Taylor would say is like the best venue in the UK is the Barrowlands. And fucking Kneecap. Last week there was an interview with Kneecap saying that the Barrowlands is the best venue in the UK. It's an old 1920s sort of dance floor, so it's the floor's wooden, but it's like sprung loaded, and it hasn't been touched. It's not a lick of paint in fucking 80 years. It's about as Glaswegian as they come, and it's just fucking dripping in character, and everybody in the world's played there through the last fucking 70 years, and it's just a great venue. It's just everything about it, just the history about it, the feel of it, the fact it's never been updated, the fact just the romance of it still there. It's like a story about not being knocked down. So aye, that is the best venue in the UK. But I always shout out Stylus at Leeds University. I'd loved that venue. I loved the wee amphitheatre effect it had.
Yeah.
I thought the bands looking at it must have been impressive just to see 4 or 5 rows of heads coming up, and then also that sort of mosh pit area in the middle. I loved Stylus. It's the one regret from moving away from Leeds that we don't have a Stylus. So they're the two that I really have a lot of time for, and always enjoyed seeing bands of any genre in both of those.
Yeah, that would be super cool to go back there. Would you ever do a gig there?
Stylus.
Yeah.
Aye, absolutely. Aye, I would. I mean, I had in my head last year that was going to do this UK all day, and the sort of start of the year, a bit more fun and do, like British bands and it never came off. The kind of bands that I needed at the top end that were tied up with other stuff, and then it just before you know it, Damnation's there, and then before you know it, you're trying to catch up with this year's Damnation. So who knows? I don't think that Damnation will be the be all and end all of my promoting. I mean, I will get involved in other bits and bobs and maybe do shows in Glasgow, maybe do all days elsewhere. But at the minute, my priority right now is just getting Damnation back on track and making sure that this year's a screaming success. Hopefully, banking a shitload of cash for it, and then being like, right, okay, I've got the freedom again. Whereas saying to my wife, oh, by the way, Damnation didn't make much money last year. I'm going to go and I'm going to go and spend the rest of your money that you're working 12-hour shifts on and some all day in Leeds that hasn't even started yet. So that's the reason that I'm just really focusing on Damnation at the minute.
Yeah.
James.
Good.
Mr. James Hunt is asking, with Refuse calling it a day in 2025, would you consider booking them again? This time for Arc Tangent. Has the last 10 years healed the upset caused in 2016? I want to say quickly, because there's sometimes, again, this comes down to never any honesty or never any transparency in this. As soon as you see anything that isn't blindingly positive about any band, it's like, we must be bitterly against them. It's like 1349 played in 2007 and they were told they couldn't use fire and they blew out some fire and a guy's face at the front get fucking singed, right? No, that's not good.
It's metal as fuck though, that is.
That's not good. And at the time it fucking felt like my world had collapsed, right? But it doesn't mean that I personally hate 1349. I would never book 1349 again. But it's just one you get people that are talking in your behalf that are saying because they know the story, oh, Gav would never book band X, Y, and Z because this happened backstage or this happened. It's not the case. And you can answer for yourself, but I refused. That was a bit of a cunty move up on the stage, but is that like, oh, I'll never work with that band again?
No, well, no, exactly. It's not. And so I'm not going to go through the story, but for anyone who doesn't know, they called the festival bookers out from the stage about the representation of women on the lineup before they'd even looked at the lineup. Really, it was a pretty lazy sloganeering, I thought, in my personal opinion, and I was pretty pissed off about it, and it made me look like a fucking clown in front of a field full of people and all my mates. But I would 100% book them again. I suspect that I don't want to pay the money that they probably want nowadays for that. So last summer they announced their final ever shows in Sweden, right? And I got asked if they wanted to play Trees at the time. Sorry, I got asked if I wanted them for Trees at the time. And for one reason or another, I didn't, because I think I was probably finished with the booking. No one's asked me about them this year, but I would be interested in the conversation. It's quite interesting seeing people talking about them playing Arc Tangent like it would be an obvious booking. And I do think, well, you kind of pushed the idea, Gav, that there is no such thing as an Arc Tangent band, and therefore Refused is an Arc Tangent band. They would work. So I don't know if I'd have them back at Trees. I think it's been done. It was cool. I think it would be great on the main stage at Arc Tangent.
Brilliant at Arc Tangent. Absolutely brilliant at Arc Tangent.
In the dark. It'd be really cool. So
James,
never say never.
James, if you can sort that for me, I would love that very much.
Yeah, you give Paul your phone before it starts this time. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool. So I would do it. I don't want anyone to get excited because I just don't think that's going to happen. They're not my number one choice for Arc Tangent. There's a list which they're not even really on, but I would suddenly put them on it if I thought they were around for that. So
Yeah, it'd be a great booking. Aye, I'm well up for that. I'm very much in the campaign for. Especially if they're playing A Shape of Punk to Come, which doesn't say that they're doing it, but it alludes to it because they've got the Smash CD beside it, as if this is it, we're giving it up, and this is what we're going to play. But it doesn't say playing the Shape of Punk to Come in full. So, that'd be a fucking outstanding booking.
No, and I think broadly speaking, that's the songs they play, isn't it? So
Because
they
they
probably
released a
got
record that was absolute dog shit, didn't they?
well, yeah, some of the. I mean, I didn't mind one of their newer ones, but the last one, yeah, poor.
Okay,
So yeah, I think look, watch this space. You never know. Okay, Rick Power. Last question says, only one of your festivals can survive, but to do so, you have to beat the other. You have to best the other in a contest of your choosing. What contest do you pick? So my contest is pronouncing band names.
Oh, great
I'm going to
start,
have
mate.
I'm having a contest pronouncing band names correctly.
Oh,
And this is nothing to do with the accent either. Not the accent.
what a weak and pitiful fucking contest. Hey, I'll give you whatever, bench press, right? I'll give you a year start, and if you can beat me at any amount of reps you want to do, you can have that one, all right? And look at the size of you. You're a fucking unit. That's not even. I'm the small. I'm Tintin. I'm fucking Tintin.
Well, you're saying it like you've already won, mate. You're giving me a year's start.
A year's start. There's no way you could catch my bench in a year. Not a chance. Not a fucking maybe with steroids, but still I doubt it. So
maybe with steroids. He's fucking. I think your problem is you think that I'm not going to take you on at this, and you're probably right.
Fucking let's go. Let's go.
Right, I get the steroids fucking on order tonight. Get the
steroids going to be you're fucking absolutely jacked in a year. Warming up with my fucking PB. So yes, that would be the answer to that one. And I need to pronounce band names, mate. Vigdud, right? It's no Wigidud, it's Vigdud.
Wow, Ouija I think.
Right, but let's go.
I noticed today you pronounced Lynn as LLNN, which is the correct way, finally. So that's good.
Lynn, LLNN. I don't know. No one's confirming one way or the other. I mean, our booking agent can't even fucking confirm one way or the other. So I think everyone's just getting a draw on that one.
Well, unless Hayden's been pronouncing it wrong all this time, it's LLNN. But there you go.
Right, moving on swiftly to after the booking, James. What does that mean? You're very good at. We've no set the table. These are. Our podcasts have been real all over the place lately with the Q's and A's and us just rambling on about stuff. This is one of the more getting back to technical sort of the exact cost of festivals or how to book a band. So you are the best table setter in those circumstances.
Yeah, and weirdly, just before we start it, I feel like we now know who our audience is, and our audience is a weird mishmash, isn't it? Because there are booking agents, and there are bands, and there are tour managers, and there's lots and lots of the general public. So this is these episodes become weirder because I think when we were talking about the billing or the dark arts of band booking, we didn't really know who we were talking to, so we were just chatting away. So now I feel like we're going to talk about what happens after the booking to some people that fucking already know the answer to that, and then loads of people that don't. So
yeah, and then to the extreme of like you're saying, you're going to a barbecue and people that aren't even really that interested in music, but just are interested in the fact that their friend is doing a podcast and they want to know. So they're a bit like, what the fuck is booking, advancing? What's a tour manager? I mean, right down to the basics of what are any of these things?
Yeah, so we're going to go at various levels here, I think, and just talk about how we do it because everyone does it differently, and really there's once the band is confirmed, I mean, you go through the sort of sales and marketing bit, and then what we would call the advancing bit with the tour manager and the production side. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I mean, the way we work it is I confirm the band. So this week I got that headliner confirmation through. You get it on an email. It says, hi James, really happy to tell you that so-and-so band are headlining 2000 Trees this year. And at that point, I will reply and I CC in Mitch, who works for us, and I will say, that's brilliant, thanks. Mitch will be in touch. And Mitch will then speak to them about getting their press assets together, which is like logos and videos and photos and bios, everything that we can use on our website and on our social media. And and then we'll start talking about the announcement. We'll agree an announcement date. Mitch will let the agent know, and then we'll do the argument about billing. So you can listen to that episode. Honestly, if you're here now with us as a new person and you haven't listened to the Ballacre billing episode, you should go and listen to
pause right now and go listen to that one.
It's one of our best ones, I think, from the early days. The early days, it's less than 6 months ago, but
it was day one though. It was released in the first day, wasn't it? So it's like it's a day one pod. There isn't even questions for the fucking listeners for that one.
Wow, yeah. So it is a good one. We'll argue about billing, and then that's kind of it. You do the announcement, and that's so Mitch and Sai and Rob and Danielle, they're all in the like sales and marketing team, and various like social media teams and press teams will get involved. And then at that point, they're kind of done with the band. And then it gets handed to another load of people, which is our artist liaison and production team, which is run by Sarah and Matt. So, yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting, as I've said previously, we're starting to build more of a team, but I am through that thread from when you copy that to Mitch, Paul is there and Marios is there, and more lately Angela is there, but I'm still the thread that goes, I'm with that for the Ballacre booking billing when the announcement date's going to be. Those are all my decisions. Getting the press assets will probably be sent to me first before, in fact, they'll not go any further because I'll use them. I'll be the one posting them online. So, the same process, but it's still me. There's no passing over from me to the next stage. That happens much later.
See, I'm desperately trying to pass admin away and also pass anything where someone else is better at it. So Mitch and Si are better at sales and marketing than I am, so let them do it. But I've never delegated the artwork billing. I think it's almost undelegatable. It's a nightmare.
And listening to that, because obviously, so you go, oh, we've agreed this band. And let's say it's a band slap bang in the middle of your poster in your head, right? Now you've agreed it and you've got your confirmation through, band's been told, fees been accepted, whether you're going to do ground transport, hotels, the production, the rest of it. And then next thing you know, you've got an argument, which sometimes happens 3 months later, because that's when the announcement goes. And then that's the agent's going, there is no way in any world that my band's going on the poster where you've put them. At that point, you're like, well, what's the options if you totally disagree? Because it's a bit like, well, you could cancel, but no one's wanting to go down that route. So then you just end up with this, becomes, which we'll talk about in the billing, bollock of billing, is it gets quite petty and quite personal. And next thing you know, you're having a fight that the day before didn't even exist. But you think, well, we could have just had confirmed that and sorted that at pro step one. But you can't even sorted step one, because step one might not include the other 17 bands.
No. I mean, we should have asked Cam this when he came on, Cam from Download. I bet he still does that job himself.
Fuck, I mean, probably.
Like, how else Andy Copping still talks to Metallica about the billing. I just don't think those things are easily delegated.
Yeah, but I mean, Cam said there was, I'm sure he told the story on the pod that it was a logo, one of the headliners that somebody had the measuring tape out beside and was saying that band's got 8 centimetres in the poster and we've got 6.5 centimetres. Like, aye, but that band's got more letters, isn't it? I mean, it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah. I mean, absolute fucking... Yeah, absolute nightmare.
But you have that conversation, it does get agreed, and that at least gets you to the announcement stage.
Yeah.
And
then you're starting to think about the well, on the one hand, there's the advancing, and on the other hand, there's all the other little things that you agreed that are now going to cause you pain.
Yeah.
Like ground transport and backline.
I mean, to give an example of the billing before we move on to that, you get some things that come right out the fucking left field. So we had the year 2021, was it? The year that fucking the industry was trying to get back up and running, but it was still feeling the after effects, and then all the American bands were pulling out. So we quickly pulled Carcass, I believe, and the Carcass must have, the Behemoth tour that was due to go through Europe must have fell apart at an earlier stage. But just with all the chaos that hadn't been announced, that had fallen apart. So Live Nation were putting together. So when I'm doing the booking process in good faith with the agent somewhere in fucking Germany, he's like, right, okay, it's a UK exclusive, do the deal in the UK exclusive. We announced a UK exclusive, and the first thing I fancy is like, how can it be UK exclusive? They're doing 8 dates with like Behemoth and Arch Enemy. And I'm like, I'm not even thinking about that fucking tour, because in my head, that tour was cancelled That was never happening, months and months, but it never been made official. So then you're sitting there like, I mean, if Live Nation come in and you click their fingers and say that has to come off Damnation regardless of whether that tour goes or not, I mean, no agents could be like, nah, I'll side with Damnation on this. I mean, you're going to go with Live Nation. So there's bits in it that even the best prepared you could possibly be, just these weird circumstances that something else comes up, creeps up at the fucking darkness and gets you. That you're like, oh fuck, I could never have considered that. And then you're about like, what am I going to do? Take them off the poster, but no tell people they're off the poster and pretend, just fucking hope that nobody notices. It's not an option.
No, it's not. I mean, you touch on the breaking of exclusivity there, which is just one of my biggest bugbears, and I think we'll no doubt talk about at some point in the next few months as people start to fuck us over.
It's all your exclusives are broken one by one.
Yeah, not this year because I'm no more Mr. Nice Guy this year.
Aye, so on to the deals as they've been put together: hotels, ground transport, reduction, visas, lights and PA. So talk us through that. Who does that go to then?
I mean, so Sarah is full-time employed by us, is like the senior manager in both of our festivals. So she kind of sits above. Again, there's another team of people below Sarah of freelancers that are dealing with ground transport, and ground transport means collecting bands from airports and taking them to hotels and then bringing them to the festival and back again. It's a glorified taxi service often. Also coordinating that we've booked the right number of hotel rooms in the most sensible locations for the band and for the festival and at the right prices. And then there's another team that are booking the backline and making sure that we've got amps and drums and the right stuff. And as we talked about the Curse of Johannes, that was all about, oh fuck, where are the two orange cabs? Oh,
two Marshall cabs sitting in front of you and they're supposed to be orange.
Yeah. So it's hard, right? Because the finer details of it is like, there's a band flying from Japan with 7 people and this much equipment. So first of all, make sure you've got the right number of hotel rooms. Secondly, is the vehicle you're picking them up in at the airport big enough? How many guitars and shit are they bringing with them? There's a lot of nuance to it across a lot of bands.
So we've got a booking for Night of Salvation, bands flying in, and the deal is for 8 people. It's for 8 people. So now the vans are all 9 seats, the driver and 8 when you hire them, and then you go above that, going to mini van, the license change. So you lose a lot of people to be available to do that. So you do it, the booking, and you're like, right, okay, 8 people, that makes sense. Oh, we're coming for London. Right, okay, well that's now very expensive. So we done this last year for another band. It's a couple of grand extra. The van hire and driver for 3.5 days is a couple of grand. Now, the band gets in touch and goes, oh, we're going to be a touring party of 9. And you're like, if it's 6 to 7, makes no difference. If it's 5 to 6, makes no difference. 8 to 9 is second van, second driver, or finding a minibus. I mean, so it's a big difference. The difference is a couple of grand. You know what I mean? Which you would never go to the agent and go, oh, by the way, I know I said 5, but I'm just going to give you 3 kind of thing. But they talk about some of this stuff as if it's like fluff at the side. This idea of hiring a second driver for 3 days and a second van for 3 days for 1 extra person is just fluff that we could just figure out here now. So you're like, no, not to be a dick about it. Like, I'm glad if an extra member comes, but, and also, we have your rider on your touring party, and you've got your front of house, your lights guy, your tour manager, your merch seller. Who's the next person? I mean, you're not Metallica either. I mean, you're the band. If you want to show up with a crew of 20, that's sold out. You want to take for every last bit. Good for you that you're in that position. But who's the? And if you're telling me you want to do this for a merch seller because you don't want to give us the 20%, you basically want to cost us thousands of pounds and fly somebody over in an extra hotel room because you don't want to give us £300 for providing a merch seller for you. That just makes no sense whatsoever. And these things just disappear. And it's like, this has got nothing to do with the agent. It's got nothing really even to do with the band. It's just one of these small details, a nuance, as you say, in the middle where that is actually get quite a big knock-on effect in the cost.
Well, and it needs somebody, to actually, first of all, notice that that's happened, so you haven't got a shit show when you get to the airport. And secondly, to decide whether you're pushing back.
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, the merch seller is an interesting one because that is directly linked to money, isn't it? So
Yes.
you could legitimately be saying, well, if you want to bring a merch seller, you're going to have to fucking pay for this extra cost.
It's
really
amazing. It's amazing. Obviously, we're going to hark back to all the episodes we've done, but the great merch debate goes into this in some detail. But the merch seller, the idea that someone, if the band's making this cost, the amount of bands that fly in a merch seller for a one-off and they cover the flight, the hotel room, the ground transport for the sake of not giving damnation, whatever that 20% would be. And usually, let's say somewhere in the between 100 and 500 mark, there is no way that you're getting that person from whatever country you're flying in through for less than it would be. It makes no business sense whatsoever. But I think bands have got such a "you're not stealing our money" mentality that they're actually throwing away their own money. And I'm like, I know, but I'll pay. Fuck, I mean, if it really came down to it, you could fucking sort out your own merch seller. I mean, you could just get in touch with somebody in Manchester and say like 150 quid for a shift and show up, and you get to keep all your own money. I don't understand this idea of let's get in. I'm not I can just see somebody who sells merch here going, "Paul, this isn't just a job you can go and get your grand to do. Like, we are professionals." I'm not saying you're not. What I'm saying is there are professionals in Manchester who do this job as well.
But so, because if this was happening for me, Sarah would pick this up and she'd be asking me, and I'd be like, fucking hell, that's obviously quite a big band. Let's just do it, whatever. But are you actually going to push back on that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a lot of that stuff when it goes 67 people, or they need an extra room, or it's going to be like, I swallow most of it. I want the bands to enjoy their time at Damnation. I don't want it to be a penny pinching exercise. Even when I'm not making much money, I want the bands to come in and have a good experience. But with that, the deal's 8. It says 8, part 8. Your contract, your rider says 8. You're making it 9. The reason that 9's difficult is because you're going to London. Now, this looks like it might actually just work itself out, because I think this is another issue, right? So they're flying to London, and I'm just trusting that that's the best. I don't know why they're flying to London. Most people can get to Manchester, but they're saying that that's London. So that might be because it saves them a couple £100, but then it cost me a couple of grand. They don't care about it costing me a couple of grand. They just want to make sure that it's cheaper for them. But suddenly, because I pushed back on the 8, these flights into Manchester appeared. So now the band are all flying, 9 of them, into Manchester. I'm like, I don't give a shit about ground transport from Manchester. 2 taxis. It's like, that's not a concern whatsoever. I've just saved all that money going backwards and forwards to London. So just thinking about talking about this out loud now, I mean, that's how these suddenly, when it gets pushed back into their corner, it's not like, yous are now forced to make this. They're like, oh, well, let's just go on to fucking Ryanair and see if we fly to Manchester instead. Oh, there you go, flights to Manchester. You're like, well, that saved everybody the headache. So sometimes it's good to push back, because I think it just stops that whole, it's a blank check from the promoter to do whatever's the most convenient way for us.
Yeah. Well, fair play. I mean, and I think what this like show. I mean, Sarah, I know you're listening, Sarah, we should talk about what Gav's just said. We should push back more.
Right, and but then it's always that sliding scale. It's like you're saying, look, well, the food token situation was easier for us, but the band's pushed back because you want to be that 15,000 capacity festival and operate at those levels. You need to bring in caterers. The dressing rooms need to be better. So it's always a sliding scale, I feel, especially band and agency and who you're dealing with. Where is the pushback level? Where is it that you're damaging your reputation by penny pinching? Where is it that you're saving yourself 10 grand by pushing back? We've talked before about tour managers. There's the answer, yes. There's never enough yeses for them. I mean, they will take you until you're left in your boxer shorts if you allow a tour manager to do that. So there needs to be, you need to protect yourself in your event somewhere. It's like you can't kill these people with kindness. They're too long in the tooth. They're too jaded. They've done it for too long, and they've been stung too many times to be like, oh, you know what? There's damnation going to put out the limo for us. Like, no, we need 2 limos if you're putting limos on. So it's like you need to know. And I'm not saying sitting here as any sort of expert. That's just my experience in that particular occasion, where that was the difference of a couple of grand out of my pocket for basically saying this is not what was agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I think all it shows is that the attention to detail you need is mad. And like, so I had this thing this year at ATG. Please stop me if we've talked about this, but because I brought it up when I was doing an interview, and we know when you talk about something once, you feel like you've told. I don't think we talked about this, So I was just happened to be stood near the main stage at Arctangent this year, and I overheard someone say to our production manager, "Did you manage to sort Mogwai's cable?" And I was like, "What? You know, if like a tree falls in the forest and you're not there, did it really fall?" If I hadn't been there, I would not have known this happened, right?
Yeah.
But I was there, right? I saw the tree fall, and I was like, what's the thing with the cable?" And he's like, he went a bit white, and he's like,
James is there.
Yeah, James is there. He's like, well, so you'll have to excuse my lack of technical knowledge here, Gav, but there was an essential cable that linked the front of house sound desk and lighting world with the stage, right? And it is a specific cable that doesn't exist in the Arctangent technical rider. No other band needed it. Mogwai needed it. And he's like, he showed me the email, and it was a bit unclear on the email as to whether they were providing it or we were providing it. It turns out we thought they were providing it. They thought we were providing it. It's fucking Saturday morning. Mogwai are here already. There's no fucking cable. No, this was Friday afternoon. They're coming tomorrow. There's no cable. They're sound checking at 8 a.m. And I'm like, well, what are our options? He's like, well, we tell them we haven't got the cable, and they'll have to make it work, but it will be quite a big compromise on their show in terms of, I think, in terms of the production, lighting and stuff. Or we try and find one. And I'm like, well, I fucking find one. Get a cable. Get some people to get a cable. And eventually I got a radio call saying there's only one we can find in the whole of the UK, and it's in Leeds. And like, we have no way of getting it here. And at some point, and I was basically just like, get it here. Like, I just don't care. It has to get here. But it's now Friday evening, and it's got to be here for tomorrow morning. And eventually the Wi-Fi guy, Tom, who's a legend, got wind of this. And he was like, my dad's up there. Do you want me to just ask my dad? And I was like, yeah. And we basically paid Tom's dad 400 quid to go and pick this cable up and just bomb it down the M1 to us. And well, not the M1 via a few other motorways. Fucking terrible geography there. He started on the M1. I'll never be a tour manager. And he brought the cable to us. And then later on that night, he was like, he's like this dude in his, I don't know, he's probably like 70. And he's like, he walks into the guest bar like a conquering hero. I'm buying him White Russians. Everyone's high-fiving him. It's like Tom's dad. Tom, the Wi-Fi guy's dad. Tom's dad. It's fucking save the day. But it all comes down to a misread on an email.
Yeah.
Which, to be clear, I'm not blaming anyone for. I think it would have happened to me if I'd been in charge of it. But it's fucking scary. It's like the technical details.
Yeah.
And like, just one other small example from ATG was Armin Ra. And again, please stop me if I've already told you this in a public and on this podcast. But Armin Ra was starting, and again, it's like the tree falling down in the forest. I was walking through the backstage of the yokai, and there was this commotion going on. And I like grabbed the stage manager, and I was like, what's the problem? And he's like, it's the security camera. They're going nuts over it. Have we talked about this?
Yeah,
I think I told you about it.
That's but you never told the Mogwai one. I've heard this one. I think you might have told this one in the live, but bash on. People, you can rehear a story.
Sorry, listeners, I don't think I've told you this, but I'm going to tell it again. Let's hope it's the same version. But basically, there was a security camera which was pointed at the at the sort of pit area, so it can show our event control and our security team if there's any crowd control issues. We need more security, whatever. It's a great way of monitoring if we've got enough security in the pits. And this fucking camera is putting out the brightest light of all time. And Armin Ra's tech spec says no lights in the tent, nothing. When we start, it's pitch black.
Yeah.
And the stage manager's like, event control won't turn it off. And I'm like, well, fucking tell him to turn it off. And he's like, I've told him to turn it off. And they think that it's more important. So at this point, I was like tugging on the cable, and I was trying to work out, if I rip this cable out the bottom of this camera, am I going to electrocute myself? Am I going to create a fire? Or is it just going to turn off? Or is it going to be an alarm? So luckily, I didn't do that. But I radioed event control, and I was like, look, I don't want to have a conversation about this now. Just turn it off. Like, we can talk about it another day. I'm telling you, turn it off.
Yeah.
And then like 30 seconds later, it just went off.
Oh.
But it's fucking stressful. And again, that is like, Arm & Ra have a right to be pissy because it's supposed to be dark.
Yeah.
And it wasn't dark.
It's such a the Arm & Ra one as well. Like, you make that arena as dark as you can, but I mean, no one in that fucking those emergency exit lights are not going off. I mean, they never asked for them to go. I mean, I think they understand with that level of darkness where it could be. The bar lights are not going off. They are like, there is no world where the Arm & Ra going out in that stage and the bar lights are going off. I mean, that venue manager's like, I don't have a fucking clue who Arm & Ra, but I know what my bar take is. So
I'm sure at Roadburn I've seen them dim the lights at the bar day before there. Not turn them completely off, but like do something to make it a bit. But did you see at Arctangent there was that I can't remember which food trader it was. I think it was Curry Bay. And they're by the main stage, and the fucking lights on that food trader, it's like brighter than the sun. It's like dark, you're in the main stage, and all you can see is this fucking massive food trader light.
Did I tell the story about me going to Curry Bay? Have I said that? So it was over the Saturday morning or something. I'm like, I just need something to eat. And about breakfast, no, I'm good for breakfast, but like a chicken korma. You know what I mean? So everywhere else is absolutely fucking stacked. And I'm away down to Curry Bay. I'm like, no queue, Curry Bay. Like, okay, fair enough. Can I have like your chicken korma, pakora, whatever it was right? And she's loading up. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Bit of chutney and I'll be back. One bit of chicken. Well, like 14 quid, one bit of chicken. And that way, I'm not even that guy normally to bother with. I'm just like, I'll just deal with my bit of chicken. But this is like day 4 at a festival. I need more than one bit of chicken. And then my way back up goes, not to be that guy, but there's one bit of chicken in there. And she's like, oh, no, sorted, and fucking lumped it on. But just when you mentioned Curry Bay, it brought back that hangover story, me begging for extra chicken.
Mate, you have some interesting breakfasts in Scotland, don't you?
Yeah, well, we have that. We've used it's the full English, but we've perfected it. We've took away the shit. Like, why there's chips or hash browns on a fucking breakfast plate makes no sense whatsoever. So they get fucked off, and you get potato scones, which are the best things ever. We've got square sausage instead of links, or square sausage and links.
Right. And when we tour Glasgow, you're going to take me for a Scottish breakfast, right?
I am, yes, and I am. This is a slight obsession I've got. I want to perfect the perfect breakfast, the British breakfast, Scottish breakfast. I want to have it on a plate. Quantities, how it's made, how the eggs are, what you have. Because I'm still like tussling me. Should mushroom or haggis be on it or not? Probably not. So it's a conversation. No fat in the bacon. Must be grilled. Eggs in a separate pan. Eggs must be in a separate pan. Don't let the beans and eggs touch. So I mean, I think about this a lot.
It feels like we need a whole fucking episode on this, mate. We need to film the. I don't want you to cook me breakfast. I want you to.
We'll go somewhere nice for a perfect Scottish breakfast. So, where the fuck were we there?
Why don't we talk about advancing now and what that is? And I mean, so I always explain advancing to people that don't know what it is at all, which is anyone that's not in the music industry. It's basically a transfer of information between two people, and those people are the promoter and the artist / tour manager, usually a tour manager. So it's basically a two-way communication whereby the promoter is telling the artist, this is where you need to go, this is what time you can arrive, this is what food we'll give you, this is what the technical specs are of the PA and lighting and backline, and the merch arrangements, and how to get here, when you want to get paid after the festival, where do you send your invoice? But basically, a bunch of information like that. It's really like, what you're trying to do with advancing is reduce the questions to zero. What are all the things the tour manager is going to ask us? Well, here is the world's biggest fucking load of information. There you go. And then the tour manager is telling you when we're going to arrive, what tech requirements they have, what backline they're expecting, what backline they're going to use if it's using your backline, maybe they're bringing their own sound desk or lighting desk, or they're gluten-free, or they've got some really serious allergies or whatever. There's fucking loads of information going in two directions. We now do it on a form that you receive a load of information, you can upload your different documents and ask questions, do your guest list. I mean, it is like you could talk for hours about the amount of shit that is in these forms. It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's so what we do. We're having a problem with this at the minute because what we try to do, rather than having 17 different emails threads going about how much, where's your guest list, what transport you got with the bus, what backline are you using, when can you arrive. Instead of that, we try to put all together a very, very detailed production sheet per stage, which shows when every band's going on stage, sound checks, what they've got, time they're coming back off stage, which dressing rooms they're all using, where they can park, contact details for the merch manager, the crew, the stage manager, the show rep, me and Paul, Marios, Angela. So you send that out and then you put a link to it as well. Say, please, you come back. And then what they're supposed to do is, my name is tour manager, guy for the band. I have read your document and I agree. If not, here's what I don't agree about it. Here's me filling back in what we want. We'll be there for 3. We need to use our own drum kit. We want 7 people on the guest list, and you're only saying we can have 5. And then that gets back with false. The problem with it at the minute is like the production's taking so long to get tied up for various reasons. Like maybe the headline band's still working in there, so what they want to do, or the company you're hiring for are saying, oh, we need to get that sub. So, but until we get it all together, we can't send out the full document for them to sign off and send back to us. So then you get that not the man box at the minute is a lot of that fluff. How do we get guest list? Where's the invoice to go? Oh, that kind of crap there. But all this information's coming. I can get why you're getting about 7 weeks out. It should be with you right now. But there's bits and bobs from different people that are stopping the entire document. And there's no point putting out 75% of it.
No.
And then ultimately what I'd say as well is you can go too far in that direction. We had years where we went down to send us the license plates of the vans and trucks and cars are coming in. It just get messy. Because then it was like, oh, I brought my sister's car instead of the drummers because the fucking tyre busted, or the bus hire company couldn't get his license plate to the day before. There was a lot of stuff we, maybe about 5-6 years, went too deep with. That we felt like, oh, look at us being super organised, but it really just caused problems. It's like listing every single, rather than saying how many passes you need, it's like, tell us everybody that's coming. And then you're a bit like, that's changing the day of with some people. Oh, we did decide just to bring the merchandiser, or that crew member wasn't available, so we brought somebody else. It became too much. There's a sweet spot in the middle where valid information can be signed off without going too far, because you'll never get to the situation where, even if you think you've advanced it for a full year with a team of 100 people, by the time that band show up, it might be the case of they've got no idea what you're talking about. And I've got examples of that.
Look, the reason you need a decent tour manager and a decent production staff on your end is because no matter how well you do this, you will be rolling with some stuff. There will be some stuff that got lost. It might be, where's that cable? Or it might be, we bought 3 t-shirts. What do you mean we can only sell 2? Or it is just like the sheer volume of detail is incredible. And like, I'm often have people saying to me, can you email the bands to remind them about this on merch? It's like, no, put it in the advancing. You know, can we ask the bands about, we did this thing last year where, you know, if someone uploads a video to YouTube from their phone, there's some clever system where it actually takes the feed from the desk and replaces it on the YouTube video. Or if they put it on Facebook or whatever, I can't remember what it's called, but it connects it. But you've got to ask permission from every single fucking band. And I've got like someone saying to me, can we get them to each sign up to this? It's like, no, we fucking can't. We can basically put it in the advancing and saying, you are signed up to this unless we hear from you. There's just too much information. You can't be sending an email on each thing.
I was talking to Paul about this exact same thing. There was something happening with an artist, and we got a wee bit of information that we didn't really need about it. And then it's a bit like, you can then go down a rabbit hole that wasn't even there. And see, when you the one thing about this fucking industry, I promise you, if you go looking for a problem or to solve a problem, that problem will be there. And if it wasn't there, it will be there, because it'll create. We had that bullshit about using band on the back of the official t-shirt. The very first year, somebody was in a bad mood and complained about it. You should get the fucking right. Says in the contract, and it does in every contract. It's about people no selling £10 t-shirts in the street. It's not about festivals not being able to sell a t-shirt with your band name in the back. And then we tried to solve a problem that wasn't a problem by going to all the bands and saying, can we use your logo, put the name of the band? And what did that create? a million new problems, because then bands would come like, we want 10 free t-shirts, we want 5% of your merch sales. We were just making shit up. Bands no replying, and then you've created a problem, you've just left it sitting in some dark room unanswered. And then what was the other one we done? There was something else we done as well that we created. We were trying the photo restrictions. So years and years and years and years, no photo restrictions, people just using common sense. Usually first 3 songs, no flash. Most photographers work to that. But the best photograph you've ever seen in the history, the guy for the Clash smashing his fucking guitar, Kurt Cobain jumping through a drum kit, those photographs were not taken by anyone following first 3 fucking songs, no flash. The best art you've seen wasn't with that first 3 songs, no flash bullshit. And most bands don't care. They're actually pretty happy that they're getting a fucking photo taken. But some do when you're getting higher up, or you're playing like Amon Ra, I'm not going to have people sitting flashing away in the pit. So there's an understanding with it. But we then took that on, right, this must be really important. They just fucking made it up. People come up with first 2 songs with flash. You can go to 35 minutes and use flash for some of it, and like just coming back, like next thing you know, you're putting out photo sheets that were just fucking gobbledygook. And then since then we tried it twice, and I went, you know what? First 3 songs, no flash, guys. The AAA snappers, use your common sense. And that's it. Never had a single band complain. Never had a single band say, oh, by the way, somebody was taking the piss. Like, let professionals be professional and do their fucking job. But you go away try to find a solution, and you're just getting more problems. And you could do that in this game endlessly, just chasing your tail.
Yeah, and the music industry, I often think the festival industry started with all these really big festivals, right? So at one point, it was just like Reading and Donington and Glastonbury and Phoenix Festival and whatever. And then all these rules, festival rules, were created.
Because Brandon Flowers said he didn't want pictures taking him at the Killers, and the next thing I'm saying that to fucking Carcass. Oh.
Exactly. No one gives a fuck. Probably Don Broco don't give a fuck. Gaslight Anthem probably don't give a fuck. But you've got all these rules that have come from Queens of Stone Age and Metallica who do give a fuck, and it's not that relevant. So yeah, the photo thing is a bit of a a bit of a frustration.
And a couple of like talking about advancing on tours or shows that advanced within an inch of their life. You even think about a headline tour. Now that whole thing's set up in concrete, copy and paste. That's what it was described to me by a tour manager, especially in arenas. You just show up with the same copy and paste template. Most of these places you can just in the next day. Different stage, but ultimately everything's the same. They still have issues night after night after night.
Yeah.
Where we like the idea of you getting 40 dates into your European or world tour and still having niggles, and then comparing that to showing up on a field in Fernhill Farm or an industrial estate in Manchester or Donington or Canton Hall, where everybody's on day one basically and not having a shit show. It's a miracle that even fucking happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we talked about like the other thing about all these requirements is, we talked about like riders and how what bands are asking for isn't actually what they want. They're just asking for stupid things, and then you give them some of it.
Yeah.
That's the same on a load of other stuff that goes into the advancing. So like dressing rooms. So I had an agent come up to me at Trees this year, and he's like, I nearly said the band name then. Why have they only got one dressing room? I'm like, they're a fucking punk band. Are you fucking kidding me? He's like, they told you in the advancing they need 2 dressing rooms. I'm like, but why? Like, why does this band that is not massive need 2? On what planet do they need 2 dressing rooms? They wouldn't be swanking around at Download or Reading saying, where's my second dressing room?
Yeah.
So why are they doing it to me? And like, so there's this thing where you see that 2 dressing room and you just ignore it. And then actually comes back to bite.
It crops up. It's some of that, but you see the advancing with other festivals, and your dressing room's assigned to you for 3 hours of the day or 4 hours of the day, and then that band shows up at yours and they get the dressing room for the entire duration, and then it's like, oh, by the way, there's a second dressing room. Like, enough. Your second dressing room is filed under the same place as your 3-hour sound check, and you headlining in every other fucking clause in your contract that was non-applicable. I sent one, because there is more contracts getting signed this year than usual. I think it's because there's so many events have fucked over bands and claps that agents are getting more strict. But I don't mind signing the contracts. It's a pain in the arse, but I had to send one back the other day and say, I'm not signing this until you make it applicable to Damnation. I don't mind scrolling through a wee bit like you're not getting 20 guests and there isn't a 3-hour sound check, but there's 60% of this contract that has fucking nothing to do with Damnation. It's completely non-applicable. You choosing the supports when you're not even headlining. Fucking, it's just, you've been on before doors to do your sound check. Like, it's just like, this is, what bit do you want me to sign? The bit that's relevant says my name.
Yeah, delete, mate. Delete.
Oh, but
I wouldn't even reply to them. I would ignore them, and then when they chase, I'd be like, "You've sent me the wrong contract." It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're just being lazy, and you're expecting me to go through and cross stuff out. It's like it's not happening.
aye.
So yeah, fuck their contracts. I mean,
James, maybe I should push back more.
yeah, well, we both should in different areas. But so, is this all very real to you at the moment? Like that, I feel relaxed about all this stuff.
You are so fucking. You're so. Like, I feel tense as well as we're fucking discuss this because it's right on the horizon. You just seem really laid back and just loving life.
It's not. There's no such thing as advancing in my world at the moment. So
I want to give two quick examples of where you can advance as much as you like, but it makes no difference whatsoever. Right? High and Fire showed up in 2015, advanced to within an inch of its life, and the drummer just said, "I'm using my drum kit." And Paul's like, I've got a signed, but I mean, is that your tour manager? Yes, that's my tour manager. Is that his name? Yes. Is that his signature? Yes. He said that this was all fine, use it. I never saw that. I don't care. I'm using my drum kit. And you're like, okay. And then you're using your drum kit, I suppose. But you're like, what can you do with that? The guy's like, I'm not going on stage, I use my drum kit every night. I'm like, but if we knew about it, then we can make a provision for it. We can do it. But it's like, okay, you're using your drum kit and it gets set up and they're like, but what was the point of that whole 3-month advancing rigmarole if the guy just showed up who never saw any part of it and just goes, no, that's not what's happening. And then another one that's a bit with a band, a black metal band last year or the year before at Beck Arena, and we'd missed it. It said no onions or no garlic in the hot meal. So like, was that curry or lasagna or something being prepared by the catering company downstairs? And we went in. And this tour manager was been a bit like, look, this was in the like, we take food allergies and that seriously. But apparently, this wasn't a food allergy; they just couldn't really be asked eating onion and garlic in this tour. And so we went and paid fucking for whatever was it that give them money to go elsewhere, or we phoned something. I can't remember what we did. And then when they phoned in, had onions and garlic in it. And then the tour manager found out and went, I've just went to the promoter and said, like, you can't have onions and garlic. And they're like, no, it's not that we can't, we just couldn't be asked with it. And that meant we just wanted something else. So it was like, it didn't even fucking matter. It was just like they decided, we don't really fancy onions and garlic. And then ultimately what they ordered in, she's like, I'm sure that's either got onions or garlic in it. Like, we're not allergic to it, and we just didn't fancy that. And like, there's some of that stuff you just have to roll with as part of the fucking business.
I think you should name and shame them, really. Sounds
I was close to, but I'm not going to.
But what I think you should do, because one of the things I've been enjoying about the podcast recently is the intro sections we do where we can talk about the real stuff that's gone on longer episodes in the past. We talked about agents today a little bit, and I definitely think over the next few weeks you can, because I'm not, when it was ATG and Trees, I'm not right on top of the advancing because it's Sarah and Matt, whereas it sounds like you are. So I think over the next few weeks, you can give us the odd tidbit of like disastrous information.
Yeah, I mean, someone actually said, I don't know if the person was much of a Damnation fan, probably came from one of your festivals, like, oh, keep up the Damnation stuff as well. But I'm looking forward to this. We've done that with that tangent, we've done it with Trees. Let's hear for the Damnation side of things as well. So absolutely, it will be in the tip of my tongue because I'll be coming into a lot of these chats fresh off an email. Off an email that I'll probably still arguing with some agent or tour manager about. And
good.
Okay.
And look, I would encourage anyone to go to our thread on Two Promoters One Group and post a question. If there's anything in here today where you're like, they haven't gone into any depth on that, they've just brushed over it, they didn't talk about this. There's a bunch of stuff we could have talked about that we didn't. I don't know if you've got more things you want to talk about. I'm wrapping you up right now.
Not much. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to keep. I think that 90 minutes is probably just going to be our sweet spot on things we've got stuff to talk about, because it's landed. The last 3 or 4 have been 90 minutes almost to the dot when unplanned until the last one. So if that's the way it pans out, then that's the way it's going to be. I noticed somebody said today, why don't you go in and do 3 hours of questions? Like, fuck that.
Yeah, no.
90 minutes is where the burnout starts. So
yeah.
I mean, we want to enjoy doing it. I mean, 90 minutes is still fun by that point. After 2 hours of just fucking talking to anyone about anything, you're a bit like, right, okay, get sick of the sound of your own voice. So
yeah, agreed. So if you sat there thinking, why didn't they tell me about X, Y, and Z, or why didn't they go into this more depth, then just ask this question and we will do it because, you know,
okay.
we
Don't
want to talk
think for
about it.
1 second we were going to try and wrap this up without mentioning our good friend, Lewis Bruce. Now,
Yes.
a wee bit of sad news for the big man. He used a Manchester greengrocer called McCall's that I think had been part of some establishment in there for 60 years, and it sounds like the building's getting sold and McCall's are getting punted out. So a lot of his sauces, I think, were sourced there. A lot of ingredients were sourced there, and they stocked there. So I would suppose that what I would appeal in this pod is if you are a retailer, wholesaler, restaurant, van that does burgers and you want some quality sauces, and especially in the Manchester area, get in touch with Lou's Brews. Get support that guy. You know what I mean? It's his sauces are fucking great. You don't need us to tell you. You see anything in this podcast? I mean, the guy's got his own sort of running theme now on the podcast, and the amount of people that are buying his sauces, they're brilliant. They're a bit different. They can be spicy. They can be tasty. Be both. So if you own a company and you want to be bit of a marketing pop as well, we'll mention you on here. We'll say, oh, whoever company's picked up Lou's Brews, good for them. Do that. Reach out to Luke and see if you can throw some business his way. Otherwise, if you're just listening to the pod and you love a good sauce, louisbrews.co.uk, pod 15% off your hot sauces. Give the big man some support.
Yeah, they're great. Look, I sometimes my mates accuse me of like just making this up because he's sponsoring us, but I'm like eating them every day, and I am concerned that I'm about to run out of my Kirsty's Metal Hands sauce, which is in my top 3.
Kirsty's Metal Hands.
So Kirsty's Metal Hands, yeah. And so Lou, we need to repress the old Kirsty's, please.
We'd be up, and now in saying that, there's a slap and pickle one which I think I mentioned before. It's stunning, but only works in burgers. Don't put it in chicken or ham. It doesn't work. It just tastes fucking weird when you put it in chicken. But on burgers, it's spectacular. I didn't know it sold out, but I given my friend Andy a bottle, and he wiped his bottle out and went to restock, and that's no longer there. So I'm starting to get a bit of pressure. People aren't happy that the damnation one's gone, including my wife. My friend Andy's not happy that the slap and pickle one's gone. And then if Kirsty's Metal Hands is sold out as well, then that's not on. So let's get these restocked, Lou.
And obviously he's got until March to get March at the earliest, but preferably Christmas to do the 2 promoters 1 pod box set as well. So
2 promoters
1 sauce.
2 promoters 1 sauce.
Yeah.
Bruce. Yes.
Okay, good. Should we do on the record?
On the record. So you know that Russell Bills has added Halo. What are you adding?
I'm going to add a band called Ancients, which has got 2 eyes in it. Ancients, but spelled with 2 eyes because they're a prog band. New album's called Beyond the Reach of the Sun, and it is a fucking cracker. This came out of nowhere. My mate Al found this, I think. I don't think I'd ever heard of the band before. And subsequently, I've seen them mentioned a few times on the Arctangent Facebook group. If you like Opeth, Mastodon, and June, I would recommend you check this band out. Very June, actually. It's prog metal with proggy bits and with super catchy choruses. As always, it's a genre that is easy to laugh at if you want to, but I really have a soft spot for this sort of thing. I'm going to guess you might not like it, Gav, but have a go. So this sits better as an album, but if you're gonna make me pick a song. The song is called Melt the Crown. I don't know if it's the best song on the album, to be honest, because it's an album. Okay. This is an album band. Big, proggy, 70-something minute album.
Okay.
It's really, really good. And if anyone knows them, tell them Arctangent's here. You can come and play for us anytime you want.
Okay, well, I was kind of getting a little bit fed up with you muscling in on the big 20-minute monsters, so I am going with A Swarm of the Sun and the track The Pyre, which I'm sure you might have heard now because you're listening to that record. Do you know what? I'm starting to get a bit tired also of trying to pigeonhole a sound in a band that's very difficult to do so. A. Williams being a perfect example, trying to write that press release for like, what is she? It's not post-rock, it's not doom, it's not classical, it's not folk, it's like, and you can't just have the description, here's 17 different genres she fits into. It's just fucking hauntingly beautiful vocals with Aye, some slow, doomy, post-rock, folk, classical mixed in. I feel the same way about A Swarm in the Sun. At bits, it feels like 40-watt sun, and like it's left the dooming. It's just like gentle music, and then it comes back in when it feels like post-metal. It's quite hypnotic at times. I mean, 18 minutes it, and it sort of ebbs and flows and just takes you with it. It's one of the ones you could just sit back with a glass of wine or an apple if you're James, and and enjoy and just enjoy. So they have been announced. I mean, not publicly yet, but well, by the time you've listened to this, they will have been. I need to go and do that after this pod, and then they'll be playing the Pelagic stage along with LLNN, Hippo Tractor, Sugar Horse, and Norna, which in itself is just a fucking spectacular stage. Never mind the rest of it that's happening at Night of Salvation. So that is my pick. On the record is looking very healthy. We never picked her. Well, James, you almost let me go, mate. We're picking the next fucking Ko-fi subscriber. Super sub, you want to be part of this pot of happiness, you can go and support us on that. Like, come on now. Jubitus did. Now, the email address starts Robert, so I'm assuming the person's Robert, but the username's Jubitus. So we're well ahead of the game now. Let us know what you want for your super sub prize.
Yeah, awesome.
And on that note, let's go pick up some children and get back into the chaos.
Let's do it. Thanks, mate.
See you after.